Happy Monday, everybody. I am so excited to chat with Aaliyah today from Exalting in Beauty. She has so many amazing things to share. So, welcome to all you amazing people. Go ahead and share in the comments where you're joining us from, maybe how your day's been so far. I'd love to hear from you. So again, hello to everybody that is joining the chat now. We are going to get Aaliyah in here as soon as possible. I see her joining us, so I'm really excited for you to meet her if you don't already follow her amazing work. And we're going to talk about kind of how to rock your side hustle, but also just a little bit about how to practice amazing emotional and mental health through creating art. So Aaliyah is going to join us here any moment. Aaliyah, go ahead and request when you're ready. Hello, Miss Levy and all my other sweet friends that are joining. I'm so happy you're here on our Monday with us. I know some of you are already on break, so welcome to break. Some of us are not. And I intentionally wore the earrings by Aaliyah, but also grabbed like all the other ones that I have because you guys, I'm obsessed. It's amazing. So I hope you're all having a super great day. Looks like we're ready to get here. Okay, this is my favorite part. The suspense. Waiting for my friend to join. Yay!
Oh my God. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Great minds. Great minds.
It's gonna be like 45 minutes of us chuckling about our earrings. But okay, what's the top of yours? You got a swirly, right?
Yeah, mine is a goat swirly situation. Okay. Little
I feel like I should change, but I can't help it.
This is perfect. This is perfect.
This is it. Just screenshot it and share it. Okay. So psyched to talk to you today, and I'm so happy that people are joining us to kind of be here for this chat because you have so many amazing things to share. So we'll get to business, even though I just want to giggle about our bananas forever. If you didn't already gather, these are earrings that Aaliyah has made, along with many other beautiful creations. I have so many pieces by her, and they're made from perler beads. It's insane. So Aaliyah, can you just give us a quick little couple tidbits about who you are and what you create and what you do so we can get to know you?
All right. So my name is Aaliyah Taylor. I go by Aaliyah Naima, which is my first and middle name. I am a 27-year-old artist, and I'm also a 27-year-old full-time library technician. And I am a Perler Bead Jewelry Designer. I love the way that sounds.
Yes, girl.
And so yeah, but that's not, right now that is the focus, but honestly, I'm just an artist through and through, whether it's the medium of painting or fashion design. But right now, these are what I love to do. But that's just a little bit. Oh, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. Yeah, I put in my location.
Yes, I love it. I love it. If anybody else is joining us from Alabama, give a shout out for Aaliyah joining us there too, because you guys are close to home with that one. Okay, so Aaliyah, I think that is a great introduction to sort of like who you are as an artist. Now, we do have a lot of art teachers that are kind of the main audience for the art of education, but also people that are just interested in art and interested in finding new creative outlets, and you definitely embody that. So can you tell us just a little bit about your process, right? So first, let's just learn about you as an artist. How do you make these beautiful things? Because seriously, I wore these banana earrings to school one day, and my principal from across the room was like, wait, are those bananas? I was like, yeah. Like screams art teacher.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Even if you're not into earrings or wearing artwork, I think that your process is really interesting, and the kids would completely gravitate towards it. Like anytime they see them, they're like, those are perler beads. They always know. So tell us how you actually make them and what your process is.
All right, so I guess how I make them is just simply getting Perler Beads. I usually go to perlerbead.com. Gotta put them out there, but that's the only like I use their brand, and I usually get them, and I do like all these hauls. And sometimes I just buy beads just for the heck of it because
Nice.
the color or because I have this idea, but it hasn't yet come to fruition. But my process usually begins with first of all trying to find some type of inspiration. And this may sound a bit vain and maybe borderline narcissistic, but usually before I begin creating jewelry or anything, I do find inspiration with myself.
Yeah.
The main reason is because it took so long to find who I am and to be comfortable and confident with who I am that now that I have I'm not all the way there yet, but now that I have this, I guess you said the standard of who I am, this idea, I know that I am bold, colorful, and vibrant.
Yeah.
So I base that every earring. That's why every earring I make, even if I'm trying to kind of be a bit dull or neutral, it's still going to have something that is bold and vibrant. And so my process begins with, I always go through Pinterest. I go through, Pinterest is just, yes, Pinterest, magazines. I'm going to shout out Pinterest, magazines, what else? Fabrics, textiles, anything that's just bold and colorful. And from there, I'll kind of tuck it in my head or I'll screenshot it or save it on my iPad. And then from there, it's just sketching. So I'll kind of put colors together. I'm still not having, it's no design yet. There's no what shape is going to be. I always start with what color scheme could work. And then that's when I kind of stare at my grids, the Perler bead grids that you place the beads on to iron on them. I actually stare at them because certain grids have a weird way where you think you just only do a circle, but you actually can do more shapes with that circle. So I stare at them for a while. I let them talk to me.
Yes,
then I open the box, and I let them talk to me. And that's when it just begins to exist in fruition. And it does mess up. I do have a lot of, I call them my little mistakes. I do have a box of mistakes where the idea was there, the sketch was there, but it just didn't work out. But most of the time, probably 9 times out of 10, the idea works, and it's what comes into exalting in beauty.
I love it. And I think my favorite part of that is starting with like thinking about yourself as an artist and what do you want to say and what do you want to share with the world, because if you're not going to enjoy and love both the process and the product, then it's a little bit tricky to find the motivation to do that, right? If you're feeling like it's a chore or you're just not inspired, then it's harder to do that. But if you're wearing some rockin' earrings and you're feeling good, then you want to do it, right? So
exactly.
And Aaliyah, I will say one of the things that stood out to me most from your work, and I don't know, like, do you know how many colors there are of Perler beads available? Like total?
Oh, I want to say it's over. No, I'm not going to even say over 60. It may be over 70 or 80. Because they added new colors.
In my head, I'm like, there's 20, right? There's like 15 or 20 based on like the limited experience I had with being a kid. But then I see like this kind of earring, this like beautiful
blueberry cream,
and these like little dudes.
The stripes.
And I was like, how are these colors that I didn't get to use when I was a kid, right? So I think that's part of it too. And I think that hearing that process is really interesting. So then you said you do a sketch digitally or like a hand sketch or with a grid, or what does it look like?
I do a hand sketch. I do have a little notebook that I keep with me. And so I do a hand sketch, and that is mainly only for shape. So I'm just experimenting with what shapes. And now that I realize that I can, glue the Perler beads on top of one another without them becoming super heavy.
Right.
Now it has opened it up where it's like, okay, this can actually form another shape, or this can add dimension. So I always start with drawing it out by hand, and then I'll try to transfer it to my iPad. So then that way I can match the Perler bead color almost exactly
Yeah.
on the iPad, and then that way I'm like, okay, that works out, because I have a
Nice.
lot of I may post them. I have a lot of digital sketch items from each collection of
Yeah.
what I did first, and you can see the differences or the changes that I made, and I think it's really cool.
Oh, I love that. Seeing the process of kind of where you started, and students are super into that too, because sometimes you
Yeah.
see the finished product and you're like, that's what it's always been, but obviously as
Mhm.
artists we know that's not the case. So I
Mm-mm.
think that we would really love to see that. In fact, we'll get to how students work, but I told you I'm going to have so many questions about how your process works. Do you like place all of the perler beads by hand? Do you use a tweezers? How do you do this? What do you
It's a remix, so I
Okay.
have really chubby fingers, so Aaliyah can't grab them
I'm
properly,
like, how do you do
but I use tweezers. And Perler just came out with, well, maybe it didn't just come out. Maybe I'm just late to the party,
it?
but they have a Perler pen, and so you scoop the colors that you're using. It closes up, and you shake it to hit in a tonal, and you
Oh,
just go like it just goes into the grid, and so it's easier. Like the pen is easier when I'm doing like multiple ones
yeah.
with the same color. But sometimes the tweezers just I have to go back to what is just in my hands, in my
Yes.
bones, in my nature, because now I'm able to kind of go really fast. But
Yeah.
no, like the very first time I started, it was by hands. But when I found out, I think it was Joanne's had tweezers, I was like, let me get 4 tweezers, please, because this hand thing is not working.
I'm so impressed. It's such meticulous work, but yet like so clean and crispy. And do you still use an iron or do you use something different? Like what do you
I still
use?
use an iron, and I
Okay.
use like
I don't
a
know what else you
legit
use.
heavy duty iron.
Yes, I love it. I mean, that's the nostalgic of it too. I mean, those of you give us some shout outs in the chats if y'all have ever used perler beads because super satisfying. Kids love them, but like talk about high fashion and high art. I mean, I love it. So, Aaliyah, let's move on to talking about how we can connect this with kids because like we said, a lot of our audiences are teachers, artists, educators, people that kind of want to be inspired, and your artwork is incredibly inspirational. So we know that you work at the library, and you mentioned to me that you had done some perler bead creations with students. So can you tell us maybe some ideas for art teachers or ideas for projects or other ways that students and teachers can be inspired by your work?
All right. So, as Sarah said, I am a library technician at my local library, my public library, and I actually work in the children's department. But before I was moved to the children's department, I was just part time circulation. And I used to, because you're at the front desk, I used to wear like the beginning stages of my perler beads. I used to wear, I think my trademark was the eggs. Like it was always either the eggs or the broccoli.
Yes.
And one day, the teen department head, the teen librarian came. She said, "You really need to do a program." And I was like, "All right, let's see how this goes." Because I've worked with children for summer camps as an art teacher, but not really in this setting. And so we started the program, and that's where I really learned how not to,
Also
how not to
important.
yes, how not to. Like, it was a lot of mistakes, but I learned, okay, this can be done for kids, and kids really do love this. It just now it has to be refined. And so I was thinking about that before we came on. I was trying to figure out, okay, how can art teachers or anyone that's in the art field that's working with kids, how can they make perler beads not so, I guess you could say, so frustrating? Because that was
Sure.
one of the issues we had. The ideas were there for the kids, but once the product was starting, you're trying to put the beads together, you're trying to get it ironed, the frustration comes because this is not turning out the way I want it to be, or
Yeah.
this is not working, or this, you're taking too long to iron. And so I realized that for art educators, they can try to take perler beads or creating perler bead art or jewelry and kind of make it maybe into a half-week project.
Mm.
So that way you can start it out. I really love paper craft. So start out maybe sketching. And these are like you said, at first, a lot of people think there are only 20 colors of perler beads.
Yeah.
And as art teachers, you can actually refine it more and say, well, let's just start out with 3 colors. Let's do primary, colors and maybe black and white as accent.
Yeah.
And so then you can have them give them graph paper, because if you use the square Perler Bead grid, the graph paper is perfect, because once you do your sketch or pencil design on the graph paper, you can actually put your graph paper under your clear square grid. Ooh. And there you can just place the beads there and match it to your design.
Nice.
And that way you can, they're more in control, and it's not so much frustration because they can see where they went wrong, and they can take the graph paper and just say, okay, let me start this over. We did have an iron station, we had a fixing station, and we had a hot glue station, because I was able to use team volunteers. So maybe if there's more than one teacher, or maybe there's a way that it can swing, you can create those stations. So that way it's not as, I guess you say, it's not really just a lot of kids come at you once saying, I want to iron. And you can then, if you want to, teach them patience. Teaching, well, why don't you go ahead and start on your next project and create something different? But I was thinking, if you don't want to make it into a full day project, probably spread it out to show the process of how you get to an idea and then to the final project. Because I think that's the special thing about Perler beads, because even once you're ironing, you still don't know how this earring or how this design is going to come out, because all it takes is for something to mess up or a missing color, and then you're like, oh my gosh, but you know what you need to fix. But I think that can be really cool to just take them from that process.
Yeah, completely. And I think that's what a lot of art teachers already like to model for their students, is starting from a sketch, starting from an idea, start that planning. And actually that's an incredibly great tip about the graph paper sort of lining up with it, because, and again, I clearly am an advocate of Perler beads, but have not done many myself. So I didn't know that there was like clear, what do you call them?
Grids. I just call them grids.
Yeah, perfect. Clear grids. And I mean, how is that not a connection into like design, you know, like a math connection, right? We have to figure out how we can be symmetrical. Do we want to make something that has kind of an asymmetrical or a radial design? There's so many connections to bring into that. And I think that can be so fun. Also, have you ever, so when you create something on a grid, do you always just iron directly on that material and then pop it out? Or do you ever like stick down with contact paper or something and like lift the design off so that you can like make multiple things? Do you know what I'm asking?
Yeah. So what I use is wax paper, but it's not the typical wax paper that you can get from, and I actually experimented this a month ago. I thought I was tricking the system, but I thought maybe I can use wax paper from the Dollar Tree and that can work. But Perler has created like a heat resistant wax paper where on like regular, it does burn, but this one is heat resistant. So once you put your bead design that's on your grid down and getting ready to iron, you put that wax paper or and maybe some type of parchment paper on top of it, and then you iron. And what I've come to learn, I feel like if you're not familiar with Perler beads, start out with their iron on low heat and then work your way up. But for me, it's straight high heat, because I can now gauge it where I can eye it for a time and I'm like, okay, this is ready. Yes. And once it's ready, I don't lift it up right away, because I want it does burn you, but also it morphs sometimes if you quickly pull it off, because it can mold because it's all melted. So I always have to put it to the side, and I have multiple grids so that way I can do it multiple times, because sometimes I just can't wait for that. I need for that to really dry, but but now I have like multiple. It's
like a patience balance. You're like, I just need to see my design. I need that gratification, but I also like know that there's a trick to doing this right.
Yes,
that's amazing. Well, that's a little bit of the process as far as how we could do that with kids, and I think you know, I honestly haven't seen a lot of that with students, well, not this year exactly, but have run art clubs before. And I think art club would love that, you know, a smaller group of kiddos that are super focused, super into some, you know, a smaller project or something they can really take their time on. I think they would absolutely love it and could be really great for fundraisers. They love making things they can take. I mean, I'm into it. And I love too, Aaliyah, the way that you model something that typically is understood to be more of a craft, right? Which like that's a whole separate discussion, is craft versus art versus whatever. But and how you take that into something that becomes a higher level just based on how you put your colors together, how much focus you take on your design, so that you are an incredibly inspirational artist to then show students too and say like, look what you can do, right?
Wow.
So I love that. So I guess I'm now curious, because we were talking about side hustles, like this is your side hustle, this isn't like your full-time gig, but there is a balance between doing something you love and, you know, also making money from it and making it work for you, but then also working too. So how do you feel like you personally balance your side hustle while also working, you know, a full-time job, right? A lot of art teachers are creating or writing or whatever they might be doing on the side. Do you have any suggestions about how to balance that?
Yes. A lot of prayer, a lot of scheduling, a lot of a lot of patience. But honestly, and this is a transparent moment, so I'm not really good at time management. I suck. That is not a gifting that I was not born with that gift. Even to the point I was born too early. That's just how bad of time I came. I was born too early. And so, so what I had to learn with Exalting Beauty as my side hustle, because number one, this is my first full-time job in a long time. For probably the last full-time job I had was in 2014. So that was 6 years ago. And so I was used to having a part-time job and able to really balance Exhausting Beauty, because I was working maybe 3 days out the week and then I had the rest of the week. So what I'm learning with balancing is, number one, scheduling. I didn't realize how important scheduling was. Even though this is a side hustle, I still had to put this in my brain that this is a part-time job.
Yes.
So what I realized is, once I schedule, so I give you an example. So let's say every day from Monday through Friday and some Saturdays, I work 8 hours a day. So I work from 7:30 to 4. And so I'm making my goal to only do my full-time work here in the library, which is a blessing because I don't have to really take anything home unless I'm doing virtual programming. And so once I get home, I usually I want to put my comfy clothes on and stuff. I may do that, but in my mindset now, I'm clocking into Exalting in Beauty.
Sure.
And I believe that when it comes to balanced side hustle, I do believe in organization and space and making sure your space is okay and it's clear. So that way when I come home, I'm not trying to clean stuff up or put stuff together or put stuff away. And so from there, I'm able to create the jewelry. Now, I do give myself a time limit because I don't know, like any other art, if there's any art educators or any people that's on here are like me, I do put everything on my plate. I am the type of person that I want to do everything that I can in one setting. Yes. And so the balance of that is, that's how I've learned that you burn out quickly, that you break down quickly, because you're trying to do everything in one setting, that you're tiring yourself out quickly and you're not able to put the passion and the heart and the love and the time into your side hustle. And so I do that, and I give myself off days. So if you have a side hustle and you're working full time and you're still doing your side hustle, give yourself off days. I'm so blessed to have a department head that is very flexible. So I'm able, and she knows what I do. She knows my side hustle. So I'm able to kind of tell, she could already tell if I'm burnt out, but she's able to lessen the load. But even if not, I'm able to say, well, can I use a mental health day from this full-time job? And she's able to do that. But even if I'm still working full-time, still doing my schedule, I take myself off the schedule for Exalted in Beauty. Yeah. Like even now for the holidays, at first I wanted to keep going and say, well, let me just work through the new year. And my body and my mind was like, you can't do this.
Yeah.
You need to balance. And so I took myself off of Exalting Beauty, and what I do to fill in that space, I create other things. So I don't create for Exalting Beauty. I may design and sketch because I do want new stuff. But my main focus is, let me create for me, or let me create for my mom, or let me create for my friends, or let me go, well, not out, but socially distanced, let me kind of walk a little bit or go somewhere different. So that way I can feel like I'm not burdening myself with my side hustle, because that is very, to me, the scary part for me is making sure that I'm not overwhelming myself to the point that I want to quit Exalting Beauty because I did too much in a short amount of time. So I feel like the best tip I can give is be patient with yourself, and also learn how to give yourself some off days, to give yourself some time off, and to schedule yourself. I have like 3 calendars plus the one on my phone. I have 3 calendars and 2 dry erase calendars, because I really need to see what I need to do, how I need to do it. And that way I can sometimes just say, okay, well, you're doing too much here, so take a break, get off, and call it a day. So yeah, so that's what, hopefully you're able to sift through that and get some tips from that.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the first ways that I saw you kind of talk about yourself as an artist and talk about your work and your comparison to giving yourself that break, giving yourself understanding and room to grow and focus on your mental health was an Instagram live that you did on your page, Exalting in Beauty. So if y'all want to check that out, that is an amazing just a conversation that you were just talking openly about what it's like to be an artist and what it's like to be a person that sometimes gets overwhelmed with things, which I think so many, if not all of us, feel. And I loved how real you were, and how you were giving us tips about how we can be great artists, but also just how to try to be the very best you can be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think we can see that in your work too, is just being gracious to yourself, being kind, giving yourself your break. So I also, I guess that leads me to my next question, which is similar to what you were talking about now, but you are a pretty big advocate of talking about mental health and talking about how are you doing? How are you balancing things? And art educators, but also humans, need to talk about this, and we need to sort of check in with each other. So how do you feel like whether it's your focus on your art, or your focus on taking a break from your art, or any other thing can help you focus on what is going to make you have a really strong mental health? It's basically a long-winded way of saying, what else can you tell us about how you help yourself balance your own mental health?
Okay. So as I'm an honest person, I'm gonna just put that out there. So honestly, for this, it definitely has to be prayer, community, therapy, counseling, and rest. I found out, especially as artists, well, let's just take the artists away. As humans, sometimes we feel like there's this need that we have to be superhuman 24/7. Mm-hmm. There's this need, and there's this overwork mentality out here that feels like in order to succeed, I have to work hard, not sleep. Some people say, I won't sleep until I die, or something like that. And to me, I'm like, wait, no. I love sleep. And so I had a breakdown 2 months ago, and I spoke that on my live, and I had a breakdown. I really usually don't have breakdowns, but I think this was a long time coming. And it was just, I was actually on my way to work, and I had I want to say I did have a lot of orders of Exalting in Beauty, and it was just a lot that was happening in our reality at work, and it was just life, period. Yeah. And I was riding in the car, and I felt this need to cry, but I was like, no, I'm not going to cry. I'm going to just go to work. I'm going to smile through it, call it a day. And it was one of those things that all it took was my mom to say, because usually she doesn't drive me to work, but this time she wanted to use the car. And usually she don't say nothing. We just sing. But this time she looked at me, she's like, are you okay? And that just like the rains fell from my eyes. I was like, no, I'm not okay. I don't know what's wrong. And so she was like, okay, you're not going to work. You're just going to call in, use a sick day, and go home. And when I went home, sometimes you think isolation is okay. It is at some points, being alone. But I realized that I didn't need isolation at that moment. I needed a community. So I called my friend, and luckily she was there. But I had to kind of reflect, how did I get to this point? And the first thing I realized, and I hopefully, this can help someone, but I realized that I'm not superhuman. I am not Superwoman. And I keep trying to act like Superwoman. And I'm an empath, and I'm a sensitive person. I am very sensitive. But the dangerous part about me being an empath and a sensitive person, I do tend to not show those emotions. And so even if it's happiness, I would still try not, or celebration or thing, when people are complimenting me or affirming me, I'm like, oh, okay. Because it's some part of me that's like, well, I don't want to just do too much. And so I swallow all my emotions in, and I slap a smile on my face, and I keep it moving. Mm-hmm. And that is unhealthy for us as humans, to continue to suppress everything down and put a mask and a facade on and think everything is okay. So we are human. Number two, I realized that we are our biggest critic. I'm my biggest critic. Yep. Everybody can see all of my success, and I can still say, no, I failed there. I messed up there. I messed up there. And as humans, we need to learn how to be gentler to ourselves. Yes. As art educators, as artists, as creatives, as business owners, we all need to learn how to be gentler to ourselves. There's this cliche saying that people always say, but it rings true: hurt people hurt people. Yes. And so if though I'm not showing I'm hurt, or though I'm not showing that I messed up, or I'm dealing with some failures and things like that, it's going to come out some way or another. If not towards another person, we can say hurt people hurt art. It could come out in our art. It could come out in what we're trying to bring into fruition with ourselves. I also feel like another tip for us, and this is what I learned in that little breakdown moment, is that isolation is dangerous. Mm-hmm. I feel like, especially during the time that we're in, unfortunately, we're not able to be in groups like we used to be, or have that community in person like we used to be. But I realized that that's not necessarily the case. We don't have to stop seeing each other, whether it's technology or talking with each other. I know it's a difference. Yep. And I feel like when we are in the when we're in the throes of having a breakdown, in the throes of being burned out, in the throes of wanting to give up, one of our main quick reflexes is to isolate ourselves. I just want to be alone. I don't want no one around me. Yep. And that's in the isolation is where it becomes dangerous, because now we're alone with our thoughts. And because we're biggest critics, because we are self-condemning ourselves, mm-hmm. and then now what happens is, now you're thinking, well, I failed at being this superhuman person. I failed at being this strong person. So now you're in the crossroads of, do I give up or do I keep going? Right. And I think that's what happened with a lot of people when they don't have a healthy balance in their mental health, when they're not really aware of who they are, what type of person they are, and how they cope. I think that's where we see a lot of people, especially artists, if I can be very specific, mm-hmm. we see a lot of artists give up. They're like, I'm never going to be successful. This is never going to work for me. I'm just going to be this type of person, and that's it. And so that's the isolation becomes just dangerous. Yeah. And so I realized that through therapy, through community, through rest, through building my inner circle, and even through being honest with myself, learning how to look at myself and say, okay, girl, you got this big old smile on your face, but your heart hurts. Yeah. So you need to take a moment. Take a moment. I'm a big advocate for journaling. Take a moment and journal everything, even if it doesn't sound right. And look at those words and say, okay, this is what I'm feeling. All right, do I want to settle in this feeling?
Yeah.
Do I want to settle in this moment of distress? Do I want to settle in these thoughts and the mistakes that I made and the feelings I made, or do I want to move on from it?
Yeah.
And so that's what I learned with maintaining a healthy mental health. And listen, do I follow my own advice? No.
Maybe a little.
Maybe a little. Sometimes it was just like, well, whatever. But the cool thing about it is that it's stuck here. So I can't help but to come back to it and say, I can't stop living. I can't stop existing. I can't stop breathing. I can't stop creating, because we all have a purpose. And so I have to make sure that I am walking in that purpose and doing what I'm supposed to do, and just making sure that I'm balanced. But I hope that's my advice and my tips on how to maintain that mental health.
I could listen to that all day. I don't know about anybody else, but I feel like you're just speaking to the choir, especially like burnt out educators, burnt out like artists, people that are in this world.
Yeah.
That are just like, how are we supposed to keep going? It feels so off. But what I'm hearing you say, you know, your tips of realizing you're your own critic, giving yourself that grace, but also just literally acknowledging the way you feel, right? With a journal, with whatever, just say, oh my gosh, I'm feeling this type of way, right? I'm feeling a little bit off, I'm feeling whatever. And my therapist and I have been discussing the fact that sometimes it's not a matter of like learning how to not feel those things. In fact, quite the opposite. It's a matter of identifying how you feel, and then maybe just moving on from a negative feeling faster than you would in the past, right? Just learning to say, okay, I've got my tools, they're in here, things still hurt, things are still hard, but it's not impossible for me. I'm going to get through that, right? I mean, again, I could listen to you talk about that all day, but I just wanted to hit home to all those art educators and everybody else out here that's listening, is that it's not easy, and we know that, but that really acknowledging and trying to come to terms with who you are as a person can help you be a better person for other people, a better educator, a better artist, just by being able to acknowledge that. So take Aaliyah's words completely. And yes, you're right. Do we practice it every time? No. Right? Are you like, I'm sleepy, I'm not going to make Perler Bead earrings tonight? Sure. Right? Like, of course those things happen, but we know that there's sort of a baseline of what we can do, and that's that's where we start. So thank you for being so open and honest about that, Aaliyah. I really appreciate your honesty. I mean, we could chat forever, as always, but so let's do it. No. Can you just leave us with any parting words? I mean, you've had so many snippets of important, accessible ways to try to be an amazing artist, an amazing person, amazing teacher, and just to try to like come to terms with who you are as a person. But you know, for the year of 2020 almost being done, a lot of people are looking forward to 2021 as a fresh start. What do you feel like is a good piece of advice or a good goal that maybe you have or that you'd like to share with others?
Ooh, I'm gonna just keep it simple. Be yourself and don't sell yourself short. I think this year I've seen a lot of people who have now grasped hold of the lie and made it into a truth that they have no purpose. Or sometimes a lot of people are feeling that they have no purpose and that they're aimless, because a lot of the things that made them feel purposeful or made them feel adequate enough has been shifted a bit. And so for me, that is my personal goal. And I feel like as art educators and as just humans in general, the reminder of being yourself, and that the realization that when you wake up and you have breath in your body and your heart's still pumping, it's still a testament that there is a purpose. There is a purpose in the thing that you're supposed to do and fulfill, even if it's just to wake up and kiss your partner, or wake up and put clothes on. That is still a purposeful thing. And I think that's what we, especially as creators, cannot take for granted, because we have been given a special gift. I hate to make us more valuable, but I think with creators, we're we're tasked with taking things that already exist and making something beautiful out of it and coloring the world with it. Especially as art educators, you're gatekeepers to lead and guide children to imaginations, to see their giftings, to see where they can go. And so that's what we have to realize and make sure that we're sticking true and staying true to it, that we continue to be ourselves and also to not sell ourselves short. You still have purpose and there is still an aim for you to do, even when it don't feel like it. Even if 2021 doesn't change, there is still breath in your body, so there's still purpose and the work to be done. So yeah.
I can't say anything else because I want you to come be a motivational speaker. Like, I'll just record that and then I'll just play it every morning. Like, okay, yes, Aaliyah says I can do it. But seriously, we desperately need those reminders, especially when our baseline of like what we can do is just like, it used to be here and we're like kind of up here, and now we're like, oh, I can barely survive, right?
Yeah.
So we still have purpose. We can still do it.
Yes.
And a lot of it is just that attitude. And I know people like shouting out because Aaliyah, that was beautifully put. I love it so much. Okay, so how about you just do a quick shout out to where people can find you, maybe where they can follow along as an artist and follow along with your creations.
All right, so follow me at Exalting in Beauty, EXALTINGIN Beauty. And from their Instagram page, you can follow my personal page if you want to go and be a little nosy, you can. Also, my website, it will be in my link, is at Etsy. And you can type in the search engine or the search bar on Etsy, Exalting in Beauty. And those are the two places that I normally reach. And if you want to go on to Facebook, it's still Exalting in Beauty. So those are all my handles, Exalting in Beauty. So yeah.
Perfect. And as a person who owns already so many
all
of
over,
but I want more. I will also say, yes, they are large, but they're very light, and the kids are obsessed. So if you're a person who likes statement earrings, you're going to need to get some and support this girl because you are an amazing artist. So thank you so much, Aaliyah. We really appreciate you chatting with us. Join us next week on Monday, and we'll be chatting with artist Jason Naylor. So I'm psyched to talk to him. Aaliyah, have an amazing evening. Y'all go share all this goodness, and we'll talk later. Bye, friend.
Bye.